Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited you're with us on 33 Founders today because I'm actually here with one of my friends from high school, Max Hershfield, and his co-founder, Rachel Olney. Thank you guys so much for being with me today and telling me about Nimbus Light.
Thanks for having us.
I want to dive right in because you guys are doing such important work. Tell us about Nimbus Light and the need you're fulfilling.
Yeah, so I'm a pilot. My husband flies the Army Black Hawk, and Max also has worked for Airbus, and so we really love aviation and keeping people safe while they're up in the air. And so we decided to come up with something for pilots, and we narrowed down to nighttime flight because there are a lot of problems while people are wearing night vision goggles because the cockpit is so dark and they're still trying to complete tasks. And currently they have to remove their hands from the controls in order to light up an area, to write a note, anything like that. So we made a solution that allows them to light up what they're doing and complete it with one hand. That way they can still maintain control of the aircraft.
Great, and right now they're having to either attach lights with hair scrunchies or rubber bands, so it's really not efficient.
Yeah, so we're both seniors at Stanford in the product design program, and one of the big topics and things that they teach us is that when you're doing your need finding, you shouldn't be using research from online and so on. You should be going out and interviewing the actual users. And so Rachel has been back and forth from Texas, actually talking to pilots, sending them the product, different iterations of the product, and they've been using it, putting it on, telling us what doesn't work, what works. And one of the things they told us about the old product was that, like you just said, it often doesn't fit. They need to use a hair tie to keep it on, and then to get it to fit, they have to sometimes tighten it so tight that they cut off the circulation in their fingers. So a lot of those things that you were saying are really quite true.
I love how on your site you say that you want our equipment to be as badass as our pilots, because that's so true. Can you guys outline the 3 ways that Nimbus Light is solving the problem you just expressed, Max?
Yeah, so definitely the major problem is the lack of product diversity within the market. Not many people decide, oh, I'm going to design stuff for the military and for the military as consumers. So pilots are going to go out and buy things that they want to wear. So part of it is just that there's a huge lack of what they can use. So they end up having to invent their own solutions. The second one is the things that are out there aren't meeting their specific needs. And we heard over and over things like durability and things like loss, because a lot of the current solutions don't stay attached. They end up losing them and then they have to operate without them. Or that object can be a hazard in the aircraft. It's called foreign object debris, and it's a really big concern. And the third one is probably just meeting the criteria of what the specific tasks they're completing are. And I think that the reason we've been able to solve that is through our need finding process that we have learned here at the D.School, which is really getting in there and not just asking, okay, what do you need? Because they may not know, but watching them work and watching them complete stuff and getting in the aircraft. Of course, I haven't gotten to go flying in the aircraft with them, but sitting in the aircraft at night with them while they're geared up and watching them complete stuff. And you really start to see things that maybe they're not even noticing are a nuisance, that they're constantly tightening it, that they're, having to use 2 hands. When we first started, the solution actually was something that still required them to use 2 hands. But then we started to rethink that as we realized how much they're trying to do in the air.
Yeah, I'd love to add on that just a little bit. When we did our need finding, I think the biggest design principle that we carried through was this idea of being able to do everything with one hand. And that wasn't totally obvious until Rachel did a lot of her need finding. And what we found out through that was there are ways to be able to make it so that pilots only need to use one hand to do everything. And our light has 2 switches on your hand that you can press with either your thumb, or you can roll your hand onto any flat surface to light up both the LEDs. And that took a lot of iterations to perfect, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of all of the people in that unit. That was really awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And when it comes to design thinking in particular, I know that's the basis of the D-School at Stanford and how you're encouraged to solve problems. When you look back once you finish this program, what are the 3 core lessons about design thinking that are going to stick with you in the future?
So the first one is definitely building empathy for your user, and not just fixing their problem, but understanding it. And part of our senior program, the first quarter, we do this project called Moccasins, where you have to walk in somebody else's shoes, and basically you have to really, really understand the problem to solve it. Many people think that a surface understanding of a problem is enough. But it's not, because there are many nuances to every problem that a lot of products fail to solve. And so that's really exciting for us, being able to kind of delve into things and put ourselves in people's shoes and understand that. And that's definitely something that I think is the most important.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the most important thing that I'm taking from my time at the D.School.
Yeah, after that is probably iteration. Learning that your first idea, it might seem great to you, but it's not. And if you keep pushing through, you're going to come up with better things. And if you come up with something and you think it's good, you set it aside and you think up something else. And sometimes that's very hard because it's easy to get attached to your ideas. Yesterday, while we were putting together a presentation, I was looking through videos of some of our old prototypes and thinking about how at the time I thought that was like the prototype, you know? And they seem ridiculous now that we've arrived at something that actually works so well.
Once you make a design, and like you just said, you get so attached to it because you think, hey, this is it. How do you put that aside? What questions do you ask yourself to make the next iteration? Because in the moment, you think, I've done it. No iterations needed.
I think the most important thing that we've learned through this whole 4 years of going through the D.School and going through all these different classes is when you come up with a design that you think is really good, the only way to test if it's really good is to build it and get it to your user. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised how many times you get it to your user and you have this idea that they're just going to be able to put it on and use it right away, and they might not even know how to put it on.
Yeah, we had a few iterations that I was doing it remotely. A lot of my pilots are scattered all over the United States, and I couldn't travel everywhere during the quarter. And we had pilots who also were in Africa for Operation United Assistance. And so, I mean, we had pilots all over the world that we were having test things. So I shipped them a little box with a prototype, and then they'd videotape themselves trying to put it on and trying to use it. And so many times they just sat there and were so unsure how to put it on. So that's interesting.
I think the only way to test if something is the right, if you are done, which is almost never the case, but if you're at least close, is you should be able to give it to someone who's never seen it before. They should be able to put it on and use it right away, or go online if it's, you know, a web app or whatever it is, and be able to use it right away. It should be very, very intuitive, and that often is not the case.
Yeah.
Rachel, I know you're deeply immersed in this space as a pilot yourself and as a military spouse. At the fundamental level, what does Nimbus Light mean to you?
To me, it's actually the start of something that I'm hoping will be much bigger, because there are so many things in the military and the Department of Defense as a whole that really need to be rethought. It's a very large bureaucracy. Everything's very entrenched. A lot of things haven't changed in 40, 50 years, but technology has obviously changed. And I think that there's a huge opportunity to make changes for the better, make things that are, you know, not only more reliable and safer, but also cheaper because they're made, you know, they're well designed to be manufactured well. And I think that for me, this is a lifelong passion, definitely. Creating things for the military and for aviation that really can help people.
Great. And when you guys start your crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, is there a specific audience that you want to reach, or do you really want everyone to start understanding how important this need is?
I mean, I think it would be great if everyone started understanding how important this need is, but of course we know that that's just not feasible right away. So I think our target audience right now is just people who, you know, are like us, who have this passion for helping our servicemen and women, which I think is a lot of people, and people who are passionate about aviation and things like that. And we're reaching out to, I'm reaching out to the San Diego community because it's so entrenched in Navy and military, and she's doing the same. And we're reaching out to actually lots of people who are currently in service. We have a large number of people at Fort Bliss, which is a large fort in Texas, right? In Texas. And we're starting there as kind of our epicenter and hopefully kind of branch out from there.
What's your highest goal for the crowdfunding campaign? Not necessarily funding-wise, but what would be the best possible outcome that could come out of that?
I think that definitely having enough funding and excitement around the product to where we can manufacture it and people already know that it's coming and they'll be ready to actually start putting it in use and actually put it in people's hands. I think that's the goal of it. And I mean, obviously we need to do a prototype run. That's really important because if you just send things to manufacturers and they make it, you won't know that it's bad until your users break it, you know, and that's not good. And so we want to do a really thorough job making sure that we are bringing a really good product to our end user because our end user is so important. And when they will be using it, it's such a critical time.
Yeah, and I'd say also that our goals are kind of variable depending on how this basis competition goes. So the basis competition we're in is a Stanford-run competition that's sponsored by a local venture capital firm. And the winner of the competition gets $20,000. And if we win that competition, that money can go to making our prototype run and our product testing of durability and so on. And if that was the case, then Indiegogo could even mean products to users that they could actually use that aren't first run prototypes that are actual, like, the real deal, which would be really cool and exciting.
And you guys find out about that Friday afternoon, right?
Yeah, our final pitch is on Friday at 1, and then we find out at 4.
Perfect. So I want to end with a quote that I love the design lead at Spotify shared about Steve Jobs. He said, "There's a famous Steve Jobs interview where he talks about the moment that he realized that the world was defined and built by people who were no smarter than him. It was the same moment that he knew he was free to make anything possible." I really feel like the two of you have manifested that with Nimbus Light. When you look back on this experience, whether you're shipping it around the country and around the world in 2 years, or it was just a great learning experience, what do you want to be talking about? No pressure.
Yeah.
Actually, I've heard that quote, and I do love it because the first time I read it, I was like, that's not true. The people who come up with these things are so smart. There's no way I could do that. So actually, that quote alone is actually worth talking about because that goes back to just realizing that nothing is as good as it can possibly be, and being willing to look at products as one step in a long, long, long story of improvement. If you look at anything, it didn't get there. It's not the first iteration. And realizing that there will be many iterations after everything you create and after everything that you see in the world. And I think that that's really important. And being able to change and being able to look at the things you've made and be critical of them and not attach your ego to your products.
Yeah, and for me, I'd say that the Nimbus Light is kind of the culmination of what I've been working on every day of these last 4 years at Stanford. I mean, you go to all these design classes and these engineering classes, and you learn so much about this process, and you do these projects, team projects, individual projects, all these things to help you learn how to do it. But this project, we get to actually just do it on our own. We have guidance from our advisor who teaches this capstone class. His name is Bill Burnett. And to be able to say down the road, oh yeah, when I was 22 years old, I helped take something from just an idea to a physical product that we actually got manufactured and we got into the hands of pilots and we actually helped pilots in their task would be something that would be just so cool to be able to talk about. And to be able to take these lessons into the next thing that I do. If you know, down the road I come up with a new idea that I really love, I'll know that I can't just make it and send it out. I'll have to go back to my D.school roots and what I've learned doing the Nimbus Light and really focus on the need finding, the iteration, etc. But hopefully the Nimbus Light gets out to all the pilots and we can keep working on that for a while.
Perfect. So before we go, can you let us know how people can stay up to date with Nimbus Light, support you guys on Indiegogo, and support you in addition to Indiegogo, spread the word and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we have a website up. It's nimbus-light.com. And on there, you can sign up to stay in touch. Additionally, if people really want to reach out to us, they can actually just email us at Odyssey, that's ODECI .inc, INC, @gmail.com.
Yeah, we also have a Facebook page. You can just look up Nimbus Light. And really, we're going out on Indiegogo in 2 weeks, a week from Monday. And if we can just get people to check it out, just go to the website, watch the video, you will see how important this is. It's not just a product. It's not just an app that's going to be making your life easier to communicate with other people. It's going to save lives of the people that are saving our lives. So I think that's the biggest thing. Let's just get the word out, get people on the website checking it out. And if you sign up, you'll hear more about it. Stay up to date with our need finding and user testing and so on.
Great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Jenna.